Hey, what's up, everyone? Morey here, and today we're going to be going over the 5 reasons why athletes have a hard time maintaining their top speed. We're getting into track season. This is something that I hear a lot from people is that they have a hard time when they get into maybe the end of their last 40 of 100 or the last 100 of their 400. They're having a hard time maintaining their top speed, feeling like they're really dying. And so we want to go over 5 strategies here that will make it so you have a better understanding of why that's happening. You'd want to apply this to a video that you have of yourself, of you running, to be able to see how that ends up really relating to you the best, and then be able to work on that through practice. We'll go over some of the key reasons of how that happens or why that happens, and also get a little bit more in depth into the best ways to be able to fix it. So we'll go ahead and hop right into it here. And the first reason that ends up typically happening is just the timing of when the foot is coming off of the ground. So we're going to use Marcel Jacobs here, but we could also use a little bit of like Andre DeGrasse. We're looking at the Olympics from a few years ago. Really, all these guys do a great job being able to maintain top speed, just because this is why they made it to the Olympics as far as they did. So what we see, and I think Marcel Jacobs is one of the best at being able to do this, is, and the idea again is, get your knee forward prior to the foot coming off the ground. This really is an impossible thing to do. You know, you can't really start to do that, but I think it's a good thing to be able to cue or think about as the foot is leaving the ground. So we can see his foot's coming off the ground, and essentially as fast as we can, we want to be starting to get the knee to come forward. And the sooner we could do that, the better off we're going to be. And really what this naturally does is it helps the angle of when the foot comes off the ground. So what happens that I see with a lot of people that end up struggling with maintaining top speed is as their foot comes off the ground, the heel is just too low. What we want to be able to do is get in a position where that heel is as high up as possible. Fred Curley has a good example here. We can see Marcel Jacobs there. The heel is straight up. That makes it so then, number two, the foot would come up and underneath the hip rather than back and behind. So another big thing that we'll see that athletes end up struggling to maintain top speed is their foot will get too far back behind them as it's coming off the ground. The idea is you want to be able to, best that you can, get your foot to come right up underneath the hip to be able to better control your body and control your spine. Okay, so typically what we'll see is people that have the foot getting too far back behind, their spine will really start to lean forward a good amount, which makes it so then you start losing control. So you really want to be aware of that foot coming straight up underneath the hip would be number two. Number three would be prior to foot strike, just make sure we're getting our foot up, toe up. Okay, so if you're not getting your toe up prior to foot strike, the likelihood of you being able to maintain top speed is basically zero. Okay, so as soon as that foot stops going up in the air, that's basically when you hit your top speed. If you can continue to have the mechanics where your foot is coming up as you come through, you're going to be able to maintain that speed or even build more speed. So that's an important thing to understand. Again, I'll repeat it for you just so you can get it, is once this foot or toe stops being able to point upwards as you swing the foot through, then you're done with your acceleration. Okay. And so this ends up being an important thing when you want to work on fixing your top speed. You got to work on the foot position and the toe position during the acceleration. That would be the main argument here. Is a lot of times, in my opinion, people that are having a hard time maintaining top speed or getting to top speed are really struggling more so with being able to effectively strike the ground or get your foot into a good position to strike the ground, and therefore are wasting a lot of their energy by being able to get to their top speed and then are not able to then maintain the top speed. Where if you're efficient and effective with your acceleration, and again, a lot of people that run, especially like the longer distance, 400, 800, they don't work as much on the acceleration, but then are wondering why they can't finish the race and think, oh, I need to run longer, and are very effective and efficient at running maybe a slower pace, right? Maybe their top speed is 19 or 20 miles an hour, maybe 22, whatever. We can say 22 miles an hour, but are running typically closer to 19s. That means that when you get to a big race and you're trying to run maybe 21 to finish off, you're going to start dying out because you've mostly been working at a lower than optimal top speed. The idea would be to be better at maintaining maybe 22, right? Work to 22, hold 22, and that will make it so over time that 400 meter will get better with your finish of the last 100 meter. The time will get better, but you'll also get better at being able to finish because you'll have more efficiency and more effectiveness. Instead of what a lot of people do is they work at 19 miles an hour, let's say, and do that for 600 meters, right? Go more time at a less speed. Well, that doesn't correlate well because the efficiency isn't as important when you're running at 19 miles an hour. You naturally are more efficient because you're working so much lower than what your top speed is, right? When you're at 21, you're closer to 90%. When you're at 19, you're closer to like 70%. Okay, so it's just a numbers game there. Another thing is going to be quick reaction with the foot strike. So another problem that we'll see is people will land. I know I'm super zoomed in, so we can't see a great view here, but what we'll see is people will land, and as that foot is striking the ground, they'll just spend a lot of time with the heel down. So as soon as your foot hits the ground, this is number 4, right? Again, look at these things. Is your knee coming forward prior to toe off, or is that an issue? Do you spend too much time with your foot essentially on the ground? And this is going to be another way to be able to fix it. What we're going over here, number 4. But bring your knee forward quicker in the angle of the foot as it's leaving the ground. What is it? It needs to be straight up. Number 2, make sure that you're getting your foot right up underneath you instead of behind you the best that you can. We want height as well as more underneath instead of behind. Number 3 is get your foot up or your toe up prior to foot strike. Number 4 is when your foot strikes the ground, have a quick reaction with the heel. Get that heel up. You got to have strong calves. You got to have a strong soleus, and in order to be fast. And so make sure that as your foot strikes the ground, get the heel up to make it so then we can get into the next step. And the last one here is really just crossing over, whether it's your arms going too much side to side here, or we end up crossing over with our feet, one step's going in front of the other. All those things could end up causing a inability to maintain top speed. And so, and I mentioned this before, the main thing of what you need to do in order to fix this is you got to look at your acceleration. What are you doing as you accelerate? Are you getting your toes up? Are you getting your foot into the right position? Are you crossing over within the feet? At the acceleration, a lot of times what you see is just a small fraction of what is going to end up being your toppling down problem. I make the comparison. I have a close friend whose wife is like a painter, and we're talking about painting, and if you make a mistake, like what do you typically do? And she was saying that, I mean, some of the times that she uses certain paint that you could like paint over and stuff like that, but at certain times you'll have to just restart over, right? And the idea is, if you're going and you're running, similar to like if you're painting or if you're building a house, right? When you build a house, you have to create that foundation that has to be a great foundation. Then you build the house on top of that. When you paint, you have to have the right elements from the very beginning, because once you get to the end, of the house, you can't go back and fix the foundation. It's the same thing when you're sprinting. When you get to your top speed, you can't go back and fix some of these issues that you have that you built up at the beginning. If you're not doing a good job of getting your foot back up underneath you, if you're getting your foot back at the acceleration, that's why low heel recovery is so important. Getting your foot through is so important, and really getting your knee through prior to your foot leaving the ground is so important at the beginning, right? These are things that we really preach in your acceleration phases, because when you get to your top speed, if you haven't built them, you're not going to be able to run fast. So what I would recommend, how to fix this, is look at your start and get very specific on the things in your start that you need to be able to work on and improve, and then apply those to your top speed and watch your times start to get better. As always, thanks for watching. If you like the information, click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, leave those down below. We do a lot of things for sprinters to help with your mechanics, to help make it so you're able to achieve more top speed at a higher level, more efficiently, more effectively. I just love getting into the data, getting into the numbers. That's what this channel is all about. So if you like the information, again, like and subscribe. That helps us a ton. We'll talk to you soon.